Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Christina, social psychologist, and here I help people learn how to speak in a way that feels confident for them. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, and I'm going to be introducing you to somatic work. In my work, I have spoken to many people who feel a sense of anxiety, a sense of dread, an overwhelming feeling of nerves that come up when they know that they need to speak in front of other people. That could be their clients, that could be prospective clients, like on a sales call, that could be their team, or that could even be recording video for their business. And if that's you, just know that you're not alone and it is totally okay to feel that way. But the thing is, if you've ever found yourself in a situation where you have that sense of anxiety, maybe your voice is shaking, your hands are shaking, maybe you have an overwhelming feeling of not being able to breathe, you know that no amount of mindset work or positive affirmations will get you out of that in the moment. Yes, you need to do the mindset work. Yes, you need to be able to handle the anxiety outside of it to support you so that you can decrease and minimize the anxiety itself. But in the moment, when you are feeling that overwhelming sensation of anxiety and fear come up, you need something else to help you. And if you're anything like me, you know that deep breathing just doesn't cut it. Deep breathing is amazing and it's fantastic, and it can be a very good way to regulate your nervous system, but it's often not enough. You see, in my own life, I have had more times than I would like to admit where my anxiety got the best of me. There was a period in my life where I went through a massive feeling of anxiety to the point where I was having panic attacks on a consistent, regular basis. And it was terrible. And knowing the mindset work and doing the mindset work and still continuing to physically feel the anxiety was really hard and really challenging. And for me, what really helped and what helped alleviate that is somatic work, especially EFT tapping. Now, if you're new to EFT tapping, it's a very simple process to use. It might look a little funny if it's your first time being exposed to it, but it's very simple and it's very effective. What it is essentially a series of micro movements that you do, tapping on specific meridian points, on specific acupressure points in your body. And why this really works is because when you are triggered, when you're feeling that sense of anxiety, that sense of stress, the sense of fear coming up, your brain is responding differently. So your amygdala gets hijacked. You start to have your cortisol go up. Your nervous system is dysregulated. And so there's a lot going on physiologically in your body. Okay. And so trying to deep breathe and just take something like deep breaths or box breathing isn't always enough to support your nervous system when it's in that dysregulated state. And so EFT tapping is a specific technique that really, again, it goes on specific meridian points in your body, specific acupressure points, so that when you are feeling that spike in cortisol, when you're feeling that sense of stress, and you tap on those points, it's a way to re regulate your nervous system and it's a way to decrease that anxiety physiologically. Okay. So hang in there if you're new to this. What you do is, as you're tapping on these acupressure points, as you're feeling the resistance, the dysregulation, the cortisol spike come up, you are going to say things either out loud or in your mind to acknowledge the feelings that you're feeling. And so what happens is, as you are going through the process of acknowledging the spike in cortisol, as you're acknowledging the fear that you're feeling, the anxiety that's in your body, and you're combining it with tapping on specific acupressure points, that combination is hitting your mind and your body. And that is helping alleviate the anxiety. So if you do it once, it may not be as effective as you would like, if I'm just being completely honest with you, or it may change your life. But the point is, it's a simple technique that you can use and that you can use repetitively, whether that's daily, whether that's weekly, whether that's leading up to some sort of speaking thing that's giving you anxiety. And you will see changes from the repeated use of this technique. Okay. So in my own life, I have had times where I have sat down to do EFT tapping and I would just burst out crying. And I would tap my way through big feelings of anxiety and I would feel a lot better afterwards. And that was amazing. I've also had times where I've sat down to do the tapping and I just could not get behind it. I would get distracted, I would have resistance come up, and it wasn't that big of a change. So both experiences are equally valid. Both experiences will occur, and both experiences are perfectly fine. Whether you have a significant change or whether you have subtle changes that add up, both are useful. Okay. So don't think that you're doing it wrong if you're not having like a big emotional release. Don't think you're doing it wrong if you do. Okay. Both are valid, both are great, both are needed. All right. Let's get into the technique itself. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to go through tapping on 9 specific meridian points on your body. You're going to start with your hand. Then we're going to move on to the eyebrow points. So right where your eyebrow ends and sort of the top of your nose, you can tap with one hand or you can tap with both hands. I personally like to tap with both hands. Okay, it just feels, I have a lot of stress that I carry in my forehead. And so tapping with both hands releases that stress better. After that, it's the side of the eye. So right at the side on your temple. After that, it's underneath your eye, right? Just right where the bone is, the hollow bone, you're going to tap there. Then it's underneath your nose. Following that, it's on your chin. After that, it's your collarbone. So where your collarbone is right underneath. And again, I like to do it with both hands. You could do it with just your left. You could do it with just your right. Both work. Okay. Second last point is on your rib cage. So about 3 to 4 inches underneath your armpit. You're going to tap there. And then the very last one is at the top of your head. Okay. And so when we go through those 9 points, that is one cycle. Okay. What we're going to do is the very first cycle that we go through, we are going to acknowledge the resistance that you're feeling, the icky sort of feelings that come up, the types of thoughts that you're having. We're going to say them and acknowledge them. Now, there is a misconception when you first start that if I'm saying what I'm actually feeling, I'm reinforcing it. And that's not true because the way the subconscious mind works, the way that your beliefs work, the way that the anxiety works, is it's there and you're thinking it even if you don't want to admit it. And so by acknowledging the anxiety or the fear or the stress that you're physically feeling in your body and acknowledging the thoughts that you're having that accompany that anxiety, you're actually helping to clear it and to acknowledge it way more effectively. Okay. So, first cycle, we're going to acknowledge thoughts that you're having. And then we're going to do the cycle a second time. And this time we're going to work on more empowering, more peaceful, better thoughts, for lack of a better word. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you each spot that we're going to be tapping in the sequence. I'm going to say the statements, and you're just going to repeat it. You can either close your eyes, you can keep your eyes open, you can follow along while listening, or you can watch and follow along. All right. And so, again, whatever comes up for you, it's perfectly fine. And you may want to save this video, come back to it, maybe for 7 days, maybe for multiple days coming up to something that you know, like a presentation or a team meeting. The point being, come back to this, do it again at least a few times, and see how you feel. Now, the really fun thing is that you won't notice the changes until you notice the changes. And it's one of those things where when you're clearing anxiety, when you're clearing fear, when you're clearing limiting beliefs, when they leave, you sort of forget that they were there. And it just feels nice, it feels peaceful, it feels better, and you move on with your day. And you often forget just how bad it was when you started. So, what I'm going to encourage you to do is right now, just sit, take a deep breath in and out. And just think about a situation that brings up the most anxiety for you around speaking. Is that getting on a call? Is that talking to a specific client? Is that leading a team meeting? Is that presenting in front of your boss? What is it for you? So think of that moment. And on a scale of 1 being very, very low, all the way to 10 being like super, super, super full of anxiety, Rate yourself on how anxious or how much fear you have for this situation. Okay. And just sit with that. Again, we're not going to try and push it down. We're not going to ignore what we're actually feeling because that won't help us. We're going to acknowledge it and sit with it. Okay. So write that number down, and I'm going to challenge you to do this tapping exercise for at least 7 days and then reflect on how you feel and cross compare the two numbers. And what you might find is you might not realize that you've dropped. Let's say you've started at like an 8. You might not realize that you've dropped to like a 3 or a 4 until you consciously really examine that you're at a 3 or a 4 and compare it to the 7 or 8 that you started with. Okay. And that's a really fun, beautiful part of the process. So, deep breath, breathe out. You have your situation. And now we're going to start tapping. Okay. So, first, we're going to start by tapping at the side of your hand. You could do your right hand, you could do your left hand, whatever feels most comfortable for you. So, we're going to start tapping just on the side with your 2 fingers. Tap, tap, tap. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. I acknowledge that I feel nervous speaking up. Okay, tap on your eyebrows next. I get worried that I will say the wrong thing. Side of the eye. It feels safer to just stay quiet. Under the eyes. I worry that people will judge what I said. Under your nose. I don't want to sound stupid in front of others. On the chin. I don't like feeling this anxiety. On your collarbones. I don't like the feeling of my throat being blocked. Under the armpit. I get worried that my voice will shake. And then top of the head. It feels uncomfortable to be seen. Side of the hand again. Even though it feels uncomfortable to be seen, it is safe to relax a little bit. Eyebrow point. I give myself permission to let go of some of this pressure. Side of the eyes. I don't need to be perfect in order to be heard. Under the eyes. It's okay if my voice shakes a little. Under the nose. I'm allowed to take up space. On the chin. It is safe for me to share my opinion. Collarbone. This fear does not define who I am or the value I bring. Under the armpit. Even though I have been scared before, speaking does not have to be so hard for me. Top of the head. I give myself permission to move through the fear. Side of the hand. I choose to speak with confidence. Eyebrows. I choose to believe that my voice matters. Side of the eye. I am safe to be seen and to be heard. Under the eyes. My perspective is valuable. Under the nose. I can trust myself when I speak up. On the chin. I trust myself to stay clear, calm, and confident. Collarbone. I am safe to show up authentically as myself. Under the armpit. I allow myself and my presence to be felt by others. Top of the head. I am calm. I am confident. I am empowered. Now, deep breath in. Breathe out. And just sit with that for a moment. Well done. And just take a moment to reflect. Is there anything that came up for you? Was any one specific phrase more triggering? Did it evoke any sort of feelings, emotions, a gut punch maybe? If anything like that happened to you, totally fine. You're totally safe. It's just an indication that that is a belief that's extra sticky, extra strong, extra triggering for you. And so if there was a moment where you felt like, ooh, this one feels extra anxious, or this one gives me more stress in my body, go back and just tap on that a little bit more, or you just sit with it, maybe even journal after the fact and ask yourself why. Can you, if it feels good for you, can you think about when this first started, where it came from? See, some people really need to know the why behind their beliefs, and pinpointing when it started or why is a great way for them to sort of feel like the responsibility is not theirs to continue holding on to that belief. And I get that. I've been right there with you. But sometimes we just can't get to the why. Maybe we've blocked it. Maybe we don't remember. Maybe we were too young. Maybe it feels like we're making it up. It doesn't matter. When you know what you are feeling, when you start to recognize what thoughts are actually sort of guiding you and triggering you and causing the sense of anxiety, what works really well for many people, myself included, is starting to look for the evidence of the contrary. So if you feel like it's not safe for me to be seen, it's not safe for me to speak up, just something about the fact that everyone's looking at me while I'm speaking gives me a lot of anxiety, start to look for the opposite evidence of that, of where did I speak and everyone was calm and my message really landed? Where did I say something that I felt really anxious saying, but people reacted really positively to it? Or it was exactly what they needed to hear? Where did I have anxiety sharing my opinion, but actually it was like the exact right thing that I needed to say? Or no one even cared and I was anxious for no reason, right? Start to collect evidence for the opposite and start to build up in baby steps the belief that it's not as bad as you thought. It's not as triggering as it was in the past. You are improving, right? If it's too much to be like, I'm confident, well, I'm less anxious is still a win. Okay. So take a moment, reflect, think about what came up for you. And again, I'm going to encourage you to save this. Come back to the tapping part every day for a week, every day for 21 days, if you can remember to, or just save it a few days before you know you have something coming up, like that team meeting or that new client call, and just tap through it and give yourself permission to feel what comes up, because no matter how much you try and stuff it down, it's still there. And I'm really determined to come up with a new analogy for this, but by now everyone's heard the computer analogy of your mind being a software program. And it's coded to be a very specific way based on your beliefs and your past experiences. And so even if you try and minimize a tab in your mind, even if you try and push down the feelings that you're feeling, it's still there running in the background. It's still there. And so ignoring it does not make it go away. All right. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, if there's anything that came up that you'd like to share, please go ahead. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know what came up for you. Let me know what number you started at and what number you felt at after the fact. And again, I'm going to just encourage you to come back, do it again, and do it again, and give yourself permission to work through it. Because on the other side of your feelings of anxiety and feelings of stress is a sense of peace and a sense of self trust into saying what you need to say. If this is something that you know you need a little bit of more support with, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and check the description box and look into Club Coherence. Club Coherence is a community that I've started designed specifically for situations like this. It's a space for you to come in to get the mindset support that you need to overcome some of these icky feelings that come up, the self doubt, the limiting beliefs. It's a place to learn actual, tangible communication skills, what to do with your body language, what to do with your voice, how to play around with your pace and your tone, and to get live feedback, live support, live practice, putting it all into action for you and your specific situation. So, whether you're a leader and you are having a hard time speaking to your team, whether you're a coach and you're scared to record reels or content for your business, whether you are avoiding calls with prospective clients, Club Coherence is the place for you to come in and get tailored support for your situation in a community of people who, quite frankly, just get it because they're walking the same path as you. Okay? If you're interested, I will leave the link in the description below. And I can't wait to hear about all the amazing changes you're going to experience after tapping your way to more peace. Okay? I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye.